Did you know that the Black Madonna and Child was introduced into Europe around the 11th to 15th century? That alone should tell you something is wrong with the timeline. So-called Jesus was born when? Do your own research. If a bully has control of your history and clearly has an attitude towards you, do you think that the bully is going to represent your history in a proper light? No, of course not. Also, I guarantee you that the ancient Egyptians, Greeks, etc. did not write their dates backwards. Hey guys, this year it's 3000 BC. You know what next year is going to be? Welcome to Black History Decoded, where I give insight into Black or African history that has been misrepresented over the centuries.
By the time people began questioning how Dionysius arrived at the date of Jesus' birth, or whether he was correct, over 1,000 years had passed, and a great deal of history had been recorded. Since there was no way to undo Dionysius' dating system, the claim that events were dated from Jesus' birth was changed to claim an event happening a certain number of years after Christian tradition supposed Jesus of Nazareth to have been born.
Apparently, Dionysius Exiguus created the BC AD system. It wasn't in existence before. All of a sudden, it comes into existence?
Many of the early archaeologists came to the study of ancient Egypt and ancient Nubia from the perspective of Semitic languages or the study of the Hebrew Bible, and it was very important to them to bring Egypt specifically into the sphere of biblical studies.
Use your critical thinking skills. There is no BC AD timeline in the Bible, so they obviously made the dates up. And how did they expand the BC AD timeline around the world? There had to be some kind of New World Order, Protestant Reformation, and over time they sent their people out to the four corners of the earth to adopt this timeline. So Dionysius Exiguus wasn't the powerhouse to establish a Christian chronology, and Christianity is a perversion of Catholicism. Remember, the Black Madonna and Child, Catholicism, was before the White Madonna and Child, Christianity. Did you also know that the word Christian comes from cretin? Not a very flattering word. Also, this guy was a Roman monk. Now, from my research, Roman means fake. Look up the word romantic or romanticize. Just look it up on your own time, right? But I'm going to give you what I've found. Romanticize. Deal with or describe in an idealized or unrealistic fashion. Make something seem better or more appealing than it really is. The tendency to romanticize non-industrial societies, or the tendency to romanticize ancient Egypt, was a white or Near Eastern culture. Romantic. Of or characterized by or suggestive of an idealized view of reality, a romantic idea towards the past. So you could characterize or make up scenarios in history, etc., that weren't really the case. A romantic point of view. So Roman means fake or prone to exaggeration. The Roman Catholic Church is translated to fake Catholic Church. The Protestant Reformation was clearly a hostile takeover. I find that historians gloss over this fact too easily. It was clearly a New World Order because they said it in so many ways. Protest, Reformation, Renaissance, rebirth, new beginning, etc. It was clearly a New World Order for white or light-skinned people. The King James Bible, the King James Version, well, where's the original then? Once you take over, you can do whatever. You can say whatever. The Black Madonna and Child all of a sudden becomes white. Attitudes towards blacks, gays, women, and socialism, because good works is a form of socialism, all attacked after the Protestant Reformation. Actually, they started a little bit before that, but their official New World Order was the Protestant Reformation. Notice that all of that is reversing right now. Blacks, gays, women, and socialism are all rising as we speak. Hey, let's respect one another. No, you blacks, gays, women, and socialism, wokeism, have to be oppressed. Like, what? Oh yeah, praise Jesus. They were wolves in sheep's clothing. Yes, some of them did believe in doing good, but the power structure did not. In order for them to maintain power, black people especially had to be oppressed. You oppress those that threaten your power. That's why they presented this disdain for black people all around the world, and they had centuries to do it. Now let's get into the Black Madonna and Child. The history of the Black Madonna. Throughout Europe, especially in France, about 400 plus Black Madonnas painted or carved in wood or stone stand in Catholic churches, with a few in museums. Most date from the 11th to 15th centuries. Now, clearly the Black Madonna and Child is based off of the virgin birth story. They tell us that so-called Jesus was supposedly born between 6 BC and 4 BC. So-called Jesus should be well renowned across the entire world way before the 11th century Europe. How is it that his image in Europe can only be traced around the time approximately 1,000 years plus years later? Like, how could it be traced just 1,000 years later in Europe? That's weird. We know that the actual virgin birth story comes from ancient Egypt, and as I explained in one of my videos, that was pure propaganda on the part of Queen of Sheba, who is Isis. But a lot of people fell for it, then and now. I know for a fact that ancient Egypt is not a 3,000-year-old civilization, because nothing much has changed in ancient Egyptian culture over 3,000 years, which is impossible. Everything that we see in ancient Egypt can be done in less than 500 years. I will go as little as 300 years. Think about it. The complicated structures of the 3 pyramids were built in approximately 60 years, so anything else is child's play for them. A lot can change in just a century, but we're talking 3,000 years, and ancient Egypt hasn't achieved much for a 3,000-year-old civilization. Now, if ancient Egypt was approximately 300 years old, yes, that's amazing. Think about the United States. It's not 300-year-old civilization yet, but a lot has changed. Imagine it 2,700 years from now. We won't be able to recognize it because so much has changed. The culture would change, a whole bunch of things would change, the people. But for ancient Egypt, their progress moves at a snail's pace. Apparently, things don't change much in Egypt. So much so, in fact, that ancient Egypt has been invaded so many times that the descendants of the original inhabitants are still in control of Egypt, which never happens in major invasions, and especially what they tell us over thousands upon thousands of years, right? It's like saying the Native Americans are still in charge of America, which is not the case. Ancient Egypt was created in the Middle Ages, or a little bit before the 11th century. Note that the Kebra Nagast, Glory of Kings, written from 1314 to 1322, relates to the birth of Menelik. This is from the Ethiopians, the son of Solomon and Makeda, the queen of Sheba, who becomes the king of Ethiopia, Menelik. The work became a crucial part of the literature and culture of Ethiopia. Now, in one of my videos, I mentioned that King of Solomon, aka Amenhotep III, and Queen of Sheba, aka Queen Tai, are the parents of so-called Jesus, who is Amenhotep IV, aka Akhenaten, but the Ethiopians call him Menelik. It makes sense to talk about their story shortly after they existed. Why would the Ethiopians write the Kebra Nagast over 2,000 years to talk about King Solomon, Queen Sheba, and their son? Doesn't make any sense. Right? Doesn't make any sense. And I forgot to mention, I wanted to mention something else. This is off topic, or not, that Noah, the story of Noah, is not in ancient Egyptian history. It seems to be everywhere else, but it's not in ancient Egyptian history. And the reason why is because it's after their history. It's after their history. And I'm going to let you know who Noah really is, because I know who Noah really is now. I know who he is. That's why it's after their history. So why is that? Why isn't it that everybody else talks about it? Every major civilization talks about it, but ancient Egypt doesn't talk about it because it happened after their civilization. Now, the people that got control of history are expanding the history because they're saying that the flood happened during ancient Egyptian history. It happened during ancient Egyptian history and they didn't talk about it? That doesn't make any sense. So the people that got control of the history are expanding the history, they're distorting the history so they can control it. Even if you don't want to believe what I'm saying or telling you, I guarantee you, if you actually do your own research, you'll have a lot of questions. So these people took control of ancient Egyptian history, and now these deceptive people can say whatever they want, absent challenge. If you control the stage, the microphone, the speakers, etc., you can disseminate your information easily, and those who are disagreeing with you in the crowd, well, they could easily be drowned out. And we're going to continue to fight and expose their lies. They have been misrepresenting Black and African history for centuries, and it's about time they get put in their place. Notice that she said it was very important for them to bring Egypt specifically into the sphere of biblical studies. So this BC AD nonsense is in reference to the Bible, the Old and the New Testament, books that many people will give their many interpretations about. And again, the Bible does not mention any dating system. Nothing is settled. It's not like mathematics, but that's how they treat the Bible, as if it's settled history. There are so many problems with the Bible, but the timeline is based on the Bible? This is ridiculous. These people need to be challenged, questioned, and I guarantee you they'll fall flat on their face when that happens. Like, share, and subscribe, and make a comment. Thanks.